In the 90s, if you were like a skate punk band or maybe a melodic hardcore band, there were two labels that you were gravitating towards. That would be Epitaph and Fat Records. But as the 90s turned into the 2000s, things would change a little bit. That tide would turn. We wouldn't be doing like this pop punk adjacent stuff anymore. It would be more like emo, post-hardcore, kind of metalcore type stuff. And there'd be two prominent labels putting out this kind of music. One of them started out as a zine called Trustkill, and the other is the topic of today's video. Today is all about Victory Records. And every band that was like emo sounding, hardcore sounding, wanted to be on Victory Records during the turn of the millennium. Hey ladies, how's it going? Dan Frampton here, and I'm sorry to say that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Victory Records. It was more so decades of drama and lawsuits. If this cute little bulldog over here was associated with your act, you were one of the cool bands in the scene. You were in the top 8 of everybody on MySpace. You were getting shows, you were getting promoted, you were getting your video seen. Everybody loved you. You were overnight famous if you got signed to Victory Records. But it came at a downfall, okay? And that one major downfall would be, I don't know, they didn't pay their artists. And most people at the time knew how shady and greedy the founder of this company was. His name was Tony Brummel or whatever. Started in '89, didn't really pick up heat until '99, but nobody really knew how deep it went. So they were still willing to sign with Victory Records because of that rub. They'd get in alternative press. They'll be all over MySpace. You know, that's the kind of vibe that Victory bands were going for. They would later go on to sell 25% of the company over to MCA, which is like a major record label. So that was seen as kind of selling out, but also a glimmer of hope that maybe they would start doing best practices, okay? Maybe they'd start paying their artists. But I don't know if that's the truth, because Thursday had a problem with them kind of right away. They were all like, hey, you can't put our name on a whoopee cushion. And Tony Brummel was all like, no, I'm definitely going to put Thursday, Full Collapse, great record, I love it, on a whoopee cushion, because you guys are poopy poop fart fart. And Thursday were like, no, that's not cool. Also, where's the royalties for our songs? So because of that marketing and promotion drama regarding the whoopee cushion and the royalties conflict, you'd think that it would escalate to a lawsuit. Not this time around. That wouldn't happen until we got involved with Hawthorn Heights, okay? They're kind of a bit of a emo adjacent type band. And in 2006, they put out a full-ass manifesto. That's right, they took a drama to the logical conclusion when they put out a literal manifesto, and not being shy about it, okay? They're like, this is a manifesto, we're leaving this goddamn company because he's greedy and there's a lot of like malintent and he's bad to his artists. It's a really long manifesto. It is a manifesto after all, so I'm not going to read every bit of it. I do suggest that you give it a search and read it for yourself. But basically, this band was pissed. They were being used. They were being abused. They weren't being paid. And not only that, Tony was out there like speaking for them. And then when the bands asked like, hey, you guys said this thing, they're like, no, we didn't say the thing. That's the other guy saying the thing. We'd never say that thing. Because Tony was all like, calling people to arms, being like, rap is the worst. We hate hip hop and we gotta bring rock to the forefront. So Tony was actually the first one to do a manifesto. So that's making me think that the band Hawthorn Heights manifesto is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, maybe a bit sarcastic, because it reads more like an exposed video from 2016 YouTube. They're just calling them greedy and just like providing receipts. They would go on to sue Victory, but then Victory would counter-sue. And then Hawthorn Heights would get mixed up with Virgin EMI, and then Victory would try to sue them. It just became this whole messy nightmare. There's just a bunch of litigation speak that I'm not smart enough to understand, okay? But what I do understand is this headline over here. Day to Remember win lawsuit against Victory Records. Label to pay $4 million. $4 million, okay? And I bet you could guess what these $4 million were for. Royalties. They're not really so hot with the royalties. Keeping all that royalty change for yourself, Tony Brummel, are you? So again, a whole ass article, a bunch of legal blah, 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 blah. But right away, we got Thursday, Hawthorn Heights, A Day to Remember, 3 of the biggest bands in the scene at the time, all with major disputes with the record label that everybody wants to be on. That's drama. There isn't that kind of drama anymore, I don't think. Well, if there is, I'm not privy to it. I'm trying to start some, but it's not really working out. No, I'm just joking. I'm staying away from the drama. I'm staying away. I'm making jokes about drama. In 2011, Victory would go on to get even more criticism when they signed this band, Design the Skyline. And this band, yeah, they suck ass, okay? They're one of the worst bands. They're like Broken Side bad. But that's not what I'm here to comment on. What I'm here to comment on is that the guys in this band were like, hey, I can kind of see why we're getting criticism. We're not that good. We're just coming in out of nowhere. Nobody really knows us. We have this one song. We're kind of young. We don't really have the right to be on this label. So I understand why you guys are all so pissed. So even if, yeah, the band does kind of suck, I do kind of like the whole story. But what I don't like the story about is this horror punk band called Aiden. Which, first of all, is the worst name for a band ever. But it's a whole band. It's not just a guy. It's a horror punk band called Aiden. And they're pretty good. I don't like the name, but they're a pretty good band, whatever. But they were like, hey, we sold like 500,000 copies of our record, and we're just going to say this on Facebook, and hey, this label didn't pay us. So we got all these bands, all these years, decades. Maybe not decades, but at least 2 decades worth of drama and $4 million payouts. Oh, but you think that's the last band we're going to talk about? No, there's one more. We got to talk about one more band. We're talking about Streetlight Manifesto. They went on to boycott their own album. They're like, no, guys, stop buying our record. The guy who's selling our record is the shadiest shithead ever, and we don't want you to give him your money. So stop buying our record, okay? If you want to support us, you can come buy our merch, you can come to our shows, you know, that kind of thing. That is the kind of thing that's going to support this band. But if you go out there and buy our record, that is actively not supporting us. How do you think this story ended? In a lawsuit? You're damn right. Victory was like, you didn't fulfill your 5-album commitment to your contract or whatever. And they were like, man, we're Streetlight Manifesto. Yes, we did. And then Victory's like, that one record that you did was like a bunch of cover songs all of a sudden. We're not counting that. And then Streetlight Manifesto was like, okay, I guess we're going to go to court for this. And then this goes for 5 years, okay? 5 years until they settle. And what they settle on is like, okay, Victory, you got to sell the rights to these masters back to the band. Which I think is a big fuck you to both sides, you know? It wasn't just like give over the tracks. It's like, no, Streetlight Manifesto, you got to pay up for your masters. But we're making this transaction happen by the end of the day. But of course, that's not where our story ends with Victory Records. Because it's the year 2023. What happened to Victory Records? Well, in 2019. That's right, they kept going. Everybody knew about all this. Lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, after drama, after controversy, after controversy, everything, okay? They still exist for some reason. Until 2019, where they sell for $30 million. And it's just like, okay, I can't keep paying these bands millions of dollars and settling in court over all this like shitty shit I've been doing, but I will take $30 million, please. So Victory Records sells for $30 million to Concord Music Group. The most corporate sounding entity ever. So you thought MCA was bad. Nuh-uh, we're gonna get $30 million from Concord Music Group. Tony Brummel, you greedy ass son of a bitch. But that was 2019. Over here on Metal Injection, they're like, they might not do records anymore. But on their website, they still have an active About page, okay? Following Concord's 2019 acquisition of Victory, Craft Recordings is now proudly managing the legendary genre-defying catalog. Okay, so they're just like, you know, we have this catalog now, IP. I don't know if the IP on Design the Skyline is really worth a lot of money. You're not really gonna have a Design the Skyline roller coaster at Disney, but okay, you have the IP to a bunch of fucking emo bands from the year 2001. Who cares? Okay, yeah, formed in 89, blah, 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 blah. If you attended hardcore underground gigs in the 90s, chances are you caught a Victory band or two. Oh, this is like the weirdest About page ever. But yeah, they own the IP and they have the rights to do whatever they want with the recording. And apparently they have an alumni page that, you know, it's a who's who of who was playing music at the time. So Tony Brummel, a very dramatic guy who likes a lawsuit or two. I don't know if I'm cut from the same cloth as this guy, but I'm not really sure if they make that cloth anymore. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you're cool as hell. And until my next upload, watch another upload.